Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's cast of the High School Star League. Let me go ahead and introduce my crew. We are SCB Rush, and we are going to be showcasing this awesome high school talent today. Let me introduce myself. I am Brownling. Our wonderful obs today is James, and with me today is my co-caster, Foe. And Foe, this is going to be a pretty awesome match between two high schools that are looking to win some great scholarship money.
Yeah, it sounds pretty fantastic. I'm excited to see both what this TVZ will kind of show us. It's going to be XNPI versus Kazergen.
Right, and for those of you tuning in, it's going to be St. Francis Xavier. Yes, as you might imagine, these are our mutant StarCraft players today, and they're going to be playing against Northview High School. Now, I don't know about you, Fo, but if I had to pick one or the other, I'd rather go to St. Francis Xavier and tell all my friends I went to Xavier School for the gifted and talented.
That would be pretty sweet. I wonder if anybody on that team has any super secret mental mutant abilities they'll be able to utilize in their StarCraft prowess.
Well, we'll have to see exactly what they can bring to the table. Now, we're going to go ahead and hop into this first match. And as you were saying, it is a TVZ.
Yeah, and it's looking like the map is going to be on Overgrowth. I'm not sure, and maybe you happen to know if they did bans and picks or they figured out this map, or if it's just in their first pool. But regardless of that, I'm pretty excited. Overgrowth is a fun map of mine. Some people might think that they're a little tired of seeing it. It's been in the map pools for so long, but I really enjoy it.
This is by far my favorite map. It's the most balanced, and I have a lot of memorable moments from this map. Now, talking about this TVZ, let's actually look at our players. You got X and PI here as our Zerg. And let's go ahead and introduce them since we're already loaded in. And spawning in the top right of Overgrowth, representing Random as well as his high school, Northview, it is our purple Zerg, XNPI.
And spawning in the bottom left corner, he's in the pink trousers, supporting Girin, and also, I'm sorry, what was the high school that he was?
St. Francis Xavier.
St. Francis Xavier, it's Kaisergen.
Alright, well, one thing I was going to go ahead and mention is there is a little bit of a skill difference that was quite noticeable at the loading screen. Now, if you're a League player, if you're a Dota player, if you're any other kind of player besides StarCraft, you may not exactly know this, but the borders around the portraits when players get into a match really do tell you what their skill level is. And XNPI here is a Diamond Zerg. He's playing against a Gold Terran. I just have to say, right off the bat, I'm feeling really good for XNPI. I think he's in a good position here.
Yeah, definitely. Diamond League is a pretty big gap. I actually just I'm personally myself. I'm in Plat, getting in that like 5 to 4. If you don't know, the ranks generally go up from like the top 200, and then you'll go into Diamond League or into Gold League, anything like that. And so, getting into Diamond has been very difficult for me, and like recently just got into Plat from Gold. So that kind of gives you an idea of where these two are at.
Right, well, we do have the Scouting Overlords coming over from our Zerg's base. Are going to be looking at the gas as well as the opening here. The one thing he really wants to know is, when does his opponent put down his natural expansion? As a Zerg player, if it gets to be about 5.5, 6 minutes and the Terran doesn't have another CC, you start to go, okay, well, I'm a little bit nervous here because, well, just like Kaisergen's logo here, if you see it, he's got a nice cheese right by there.
Yeah.
As a Zerg player, 5.5 minutes, you're starting to think, okay, what's up, buddy? We got some Hellion cheese running in. There's going to be Widow Mine drops, so that's going to be one of the first things that he scouts for here.
Yeah, Brownling's really highlighted a really good and important aspect of Zerg, and that's that they're very reactionary, at least at the beginning, and he's going to be able to try to get the best economy he possibly can, but if he's going to try to get a third base and kind of put himself out of the way, he's going to need to know what he's up against.
All right, well, XNPI does scout out the Reaper. Reaper's going to be going across the map. Now, Terrans really have two choices. They can make one Reaper, they can make a lot of Reapers. Sometimes they do 2, sometimes they do 3. It looks like we're just going to have the single Reaper here. And this is going to be for scouting information as he moves up into the main base of his opponent. Maybe even get a Zergling kill. He's going to go for it. Oh, it's going to be close. Okay, he does get the kill. And micro doesn't get the other one, but that's okay. At least the Reaper lives. He's going to be able to see that his opponent has not mined any gas yet, despite the fact that he does have a gas geyser. So he's feeling pretty safe now. He knows there's no aggression on the way. You can't really attack me without Banelings or Zergling speed.
Yep, and the Reaper's doing a really good job of getting that crucial information, and because of that, now Kazergan's going to feel really comfortable and start getting his next command center, so he'll be able to float that as soon. Now he's even going for 3, which is a pretty interesting strat.
Well, this is a very common build against Zerg players, because a lot of Zerg players aren't aggressive, and the reason is that Hellions are really good, they take out Zerglings. Widowmines are really good, they take out Banelings. So Widowmines have effectively shut down the majority of Baneling busts for players who actually know what they're doing. And a Zerg is going to go, okay, buddy, I'm going to let you macro up, I'm going to take my 3rd base, and then I'm going to take my 4th base, and then I'll take you out in the late game. I don't want to bank on busting when you could have Widowmines. So it's actually pretty safe for the Terran to be doing this.
Yep.
Under normal circumstances.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, like, XNPI does not know that a command center is already being built. He may even be taking into consideration that because he's playing against a gold player, he might think that this command center is coming in late. But what he doesn't know is that Kaiser is sitting on 3 or going for 3.
Yeah, his Zerglings were able to scout out the front, and he got just a little bit of information. If you take a look at his vision, he sees the 2nd command center, but he doesn't know that that's actually the 3rd command center. Oh, this is so good. He's going to float his Overlord into the main now, and guess what? He is now able to see that it is not 1 CC, but 2 CCs that have been built, and this will spur him to take a 3rd base or go hyper-aggressive.
Yep, these are really the only 2 options that XNPI is really going to be able to take into consideration at this point, because now that he knows that his opponent has 3 bases, he can't afford to be set behind by not doing it. And right as we say that, XNPI is going for his 3rd.
All right, well, it's going to be actually on Kaiserjin here to defend this natural expansion. Despite having 3 CCs, he's not going to double expand per se. He's going to make... Oh... Oof. I stand corrected. That is, I do not agree with this plan at all here. It's great that you have the 3 CCs. You can build 3 SCVs at a time with this, and you can call down additional mules. The problem with putting it down immediately is that, yes, you'll get a little bit of mining, but let's think about this here, Foe. There's no SCVs at the natural. He can just use the extra SCV production to fill up that natural. And now he's going to have to defend 2 extra bases on such a minimal amount of units when he has no clue what his opponent is building. If there was a Roach Rush coming, he would be dead.
Yep, but luckily for him, it is not a Roach Rush that's coming in. These Lings are actually not very, very good against these Hellions, so the Hellions are going to be able to shrug this off. But I guess right now, Kaiserkin's just kind of lucky to kind of see Lings and not see any other type of aggression coming at him, and it looks like, as it stands, this 3rd isn't going to go harassed.
No, and 3 queens here is more than enough to defend against these Hellions, as they will try to poke and get something done. They will be shooed away. Taking a look at the supply tab, we have 30 army supply for our Zerg and 37 drones, so he's ahead in every regard. The only thing he doesn't have going for him is that our Terran player is just now finishing up his +1 attack, which means that those Marines are going to have a little bit more DPS than they normally would. So that's going to be crucial if he wants to do some kind of timing attack. The one thing he lacks that will really prevent him from doing any kind of damage in the near future is he doesn't even have stim started yet. It's all Marines, it's all reactors here.
Yeah, he's going pretty much for pure numbers at this point, which is an interesting strat because typically that's it's more of a Zerg strategy. But you know, he's maybe thinking fight fire with fire. A lot of Marines can do a lot of damage. Not entirely sure how it will pan out, but we'll kind of have to get a gauge for it and see.
Yeah, the one thing that does worry me here, Chris, is that we have a bailing nest, and centrifugal hooks is more than halfway done. So if you're going for that heavy marine composition,
Oof.
you need to have something like Hellbats to really tank against those banelings, because once those centrifugal hooks finishes, those banelings are just going to roll over those marines, quite literally here.
Yeah, and without stim to like get yourself out and away, there's gonna be a lot of trouble.
Good around here, Bo. Check this out. The Hellions.
Oh man, lots of damage being done by these Hellions. If these were just Marines, these Lings would have shredded up. But luckily, these Hellions are really the saving grace for Kaisergen, keeping him afloat and away from these early pressure.
Well, it was a good move by NPI. He just barely missed the surround, and the Hellions were able to squeeze out. Now, 4 Queens will come to the front. May be able to get some juicy kills here. They will take out 2 Hellions, or not able to take out any of the medevacs. And in the production tab, we have 34 Zerglings on the way, Spire almost complete, and Stimpack finally started. I think if Stimpack was done by this push, he could actually pressure the 3rd base, but he's going to have to just be very careful here without Stim, as once these Lings finish, he is on creep, and they will be able to get us around.
Yep, that creep's going to provide vision, so Kaiser's going to be completely visible to XNPI for that entirety that he spends his time there, and he has to be very careful of kind of giving away where he's going to put his attack on.
Well, he does go home for now, and looking at the production tab, we did have the first Marauder come out. It's still mostly Marines, but Marauders are coming out one at a time, and now missile turrets also being added on. Now, this is a pretty safe measure here, because mutas at this time should be popping, and we don't have any in the production tab just yet, but the Spire is finished. Mutas are a very real threat here, so this is a good defensive move by our Terran.
Yeah, these mutas, it's actually very, very good that these missile turrets have come up when they are. I don't know if they're really going to be able to handle the mass numbers once they get to that point. This amount of mutas is fine, but if we get too far along, there's going to need to be a better precaution to deal with XNPI's harassment, as he's going for 2 different attacks, which is a really, really good kind of strategy to try to, like, crunch that opponent.
All right, well, we do have Zerglings going to move it into the 3rd base. We'll start harassing these supply depots. The main army is going to come and respond on the left side of the map. Going into the main, oh my goodness. Kaisergen felt this out perfectly. All of his Marines respond to the main base. Loses a few SCVs, but all in all, that was not a bad hold here.
Yeah, it really looks like Kaisergen is stepping up to the plate here. I mean, aside from a little bit of a supply lead, like he's doing a good job.
SCVs! Taken out by the Banelings here, foe. And everything on this right side is going to get cleaned up. That 3rd base will want to raise if it needs to be saved. If it takes too much damage, it will start burning down.
Oh, you gotta lift it, Kaiser.
Oh, it goes down.
Yep. So now Kaiser is kind of feeling the heat. You know, he's got a lot of economy and a lot of money to spend, but it really doesn't look like he's able to spend it quickly enough. So that 3rd base might not hurt now, but it's definitely going to hurt later.
Oh, mutas, you need to get out of there. You do not want to fight those Marines head on. Loses a few mutas there, now up to 12 mutas. All the while, 4th base is ready for NPI, and you know, he lost a few mutas there, but he's in a great position here, foe. Let's look at this. 71 workers to 43. Now, he's a little bit behind in the army supply. But keep in mind, a lot of that supply is Marines that will be negated by Banelings. And look at this. In the right section of the map, it's a doom drop here, foe. This could be devastating. This could be just what Kaisergen needs to bring himself back into the game. Oh, he turned around.
It's
There's a little bit of indecision here.
Yeah, he's a little curious as to which one he should be going for. I think the main is a good decision, so he's going to start doing this. The mutas are kind of out of position to deal with this, but the Lings are not, so they're going to come in here, and Kaisergen's going to try to do as much damage. Kiting is the best of his ability, but it looks like a surround's going to happen. He's either fight or flight, and he is actually going to lose a lot of these Marines.
Oh, he's going to lose everything here. The mutas are right on top of the medevacs. 2 medevacs already go down. 2 more on very low health. Okay, the mutas do not... Oh, the queens!
Oof.
Who knew queens would be so good against medevacs? But this little force is going to get cleaned up as the mutas join the fray. All of the medevacs for Kaisergen have now been eliminated here, so this is not good for our Terran. as he's not going to be able to heal up that army after each stem, and not to mention, he's not going to have any drops available either.
Yeah, and it even looks like at this point Kaiser's also sending his kind of, maybe a missed rally, maybe not, but he's sending a lot of his units right now that he's been making right into over here. Now they're going to engage these roaches. Banelings are starting to be made, and I really don't think these Marines could kill them fast enough. Mutas are going to join the fray, and they're going to clean this up.
Yeah, I think the intention here was to doom drop at the main, and then parade push into the natural. But at this point, it's not really much of a parade push. It's more of a serving of Terran units on a platter.
Really, really is. And at this point, too...
Okay, he re-rallies back to his natural.
Yep, XNPI can really stand to lose as much units as he's won. He's got a really, really comfortable base lead on his opponent. He's got a good economy. Like we mentioned earlier, the drone count versus the SCVs are just immaculate amounts. So he really can stand to kind of throw these in, and it looks like that's exactly what he wants to do, getting a really good number of Banelings in.
Yeah, so looking at the upgrades here, we mentioned that the Terran quite some time ago got his +1. Of note, though, he didn't get armor, and he hasn't gotten 2-2, whereas our Zerg is sitting pretty here on 2-2 and +1 for his mutas. So as time goes on, he's going to get better and better upgrades, and it's going to swing more and more in favor of Zerg. You know, without those upgrades for Terran, the upgrades for Terran are so important because they're what let you do your damage. If the Zerg has more upgrades than you, then you're much more vulnerable to the Banelings. So,
yep.
XNPI is in a really good place, and we have a huge battle going on here in the natural.
Yeah, and it looks like XNVI sent his initial units to try to get a look for the third base, notices this is not there, and then started bringing his mutas over to try to do some damage. And now that he knows that there's no third base, he's feeling pretty comfortable, and he may even try to engage this.
Alright, well, a few more Banelings being morphed in here. That's a lot of Banelings, folks.
That's a lot of Banelings.
A lot of Banelings. Taking a look at the unit tab, that's 45 Banelings, foe. 45!
Yeah, and these Hero Marines are going to come out here, notice them right away. Not going to be able to do...
Baneling landmines? Come on. Don't kill the Baneling landmines. Those are the fun ones.
And so now this push is looking really, really dangerous. These Banelings get unburrowed, and now they're going to kind of tickle in and see what damage they can do on their own, and then potentially just go all in.
Alright, well, landing mules to repair the wall now.
Oof. Loses 2 of these supply depots.
And he also, I don't know if you caught this, but he accidentally stemmed his army, and now every single Marine is in the yellow.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so he's already bad start to this engagement. He hit the wrong button and stemmed by accident. And now everything is in the orange, and that's not where you want it to be. He's going to try to split as best as he can, but it's just too much here, foe. Everything gets swallowed up. GG is called, and game number 1 will go to XNPI of Northview.
Yeah, and you know, there was, for I guess, taking the skill disparity in mind, I think Kaiser did a really good job what he was up against. Like, he stayed in, you know? For
sure, yeah, he definitely, and he had a good idea of what he needed to do. He understood the macro game, which is very important in StarCraft. He said, you know what, let me get my 3 CCs, let me try and get some SCVs out, let me get a good economy going, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, I kind of disagree with the plan. Because if you go into a macro game, you have to say, all right, well, I'm going into a macro game versus a diamond player. Obviously, a diamond player knows how to macro better than I do. Mm-hmm. But what he may not be, you know, the skill gap may not be as large in the micro area. So I always like it when I see lower league players try to cheese higher ranked players because it kind of levels the playing field almost when nobody has any minerals to produce anything.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the biggest thing too is going for that early economy. You have to be ready to defend it and or feel comfortable handling that many things at once. And it just looked like it was a little overbearing to kind of deal with that 3 base against this Zerg.
And as you were saying, you know, you have to be able to defend it. Or the other thing you can do is you can actually harass. You know, that's one of Terran's most powerful tools is the drops and the Hellion harass. Is that if you are harassing your opponent, they have to respond on their side of the map. which means that you can do whatever you want on your side of the map.
Yep.
So whether you harass or defend, the objective here is to keep your bases safe. Now we're going to move into the next game. It's going to be literally Terran here, and it's the Terran player Terran, and he's playing for Northview High School versus Girin's Irio, and Irio, of course, playing for Xavier's Academy for the Gifted and Talented here, also known as St. Francis Xavier. So this is going to be game number 2, and we're going to get right into it here, folks. And this is a TVP now. This is actually one of my favorite matchups, and it looks like we may have another lopsided match.
Yeah, now we could be wrong, but it does look like it's a gold versus an unranked. Now it's entirely possible that this Terran may have another account, may have played some games on another server, but as it stands right now, it does not look like this Terran has favorable odds.
No, one of the things that you can look at is you can see the levels. Even if someone's unranked, if you see they're unranked in level 105, you can assume, okay, they're not a new player. But when you see unranked and level 5, it kind of gives you an idea, all right, either this is a new account, this guy plays on another server, or this guy is completely new. And he's queuing up the SCVs on time, so...
so at least there's that going.
But we'll have to see how he plays throughout the game here. First supply depot will go down for our Terran. No cheese today, folks. And the first pylon on the way for our Protoss. So we've got a little bit of time here, Phil, before any action cooks up.
Yeah, and I think, for the most part, I guess the best thing we can do or utilize this time is try to determine if Terran's actually, if he knows what he's doing, so to speak. The supply depot being placed where it is an interesting. It also gets lowered, so these are all kind of traits of somebody who may actually know what they're doing and have some confidence.
Yeah, okay, so barracks will go down at the ramp, another indication that Terran's played a few games at least, and he will rally out to the natural expansion. Now, if he's rallying his units out there, what I will want to know next is, does he put a bunker down at the natural expansion ramp? Because if he does, we can assume he actually knows what he's doing. Now, we do have a scouting probe coming out from Irio, our gold Protoss player, and he will see the barracks. He will see, more importantly, exactly where his opponent scouted, as this map does have 3 spawning locations here.
Yep, so it looks like, Irio has decided to go for a 2-gas build. This really doesn't tell us a whole lot because he can go a lot of different ways with this. So we're going to have to really determine if he's going to either do something early or go for kind of a safe push. He is putting his pylon out here in an interesting location that may either indicate a proxy or that he wants to hide it.
Well, to be honest with you, I think what this is this is to see when the Reaper jumps in and jumps out.
That is also a really good spot for that.
In
that instance.
Because that's the only area that the Reaper can jump in, jump out without going into the natural.
Yep, and we're actually seeing another pylon placement. A really interesting spot for it too is.
Now this is not for the Reaper.
Yeah, this is absolutely not for the Reaper.
Although it will see the Reaper.
It will see the Reaper, which is nice as well. But it is not for that purpose. Maybe utilizing it as a proxy location, or just using it to warp preemptively.
All right. Well, one thing I will say about High School Star League, as you guys see the chat in the bottom here, is these players want to learn. That's kind of the great thing about High School Star League. The chat here is between 2 players from opposing high schools. They're watching this game, and they're talking to each other, trying to predict what each one of their players is going to do, to the point where, they're giving away the strategy of the other player. Now, keep in mind that this chat is only between those who are not playing the game. So if you're watching the game but not playing it, you can see it. But if you're playing it, you can't see this chat. But the people, the high school players are actually in this game watching. So that's kind of cool that, this, even though this is a competitive scene, both schools want to improve. They want to have fun. There's no bad manners here. They're all very friendly. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, so it looks like Irio is actually going to have another gateway down, going for probably a one-base blink play, and he may not be aware, and I don't think he is, but this is actually pretty early for just pure Marauder placement. So it's going to be interesting to see because Marauders are actually pretty good against Stalkers.
Yeah, these blink stalkers, they're going to have to utilize that blink very well. Of course, getting those injured stalkers to the back, letting the more charged up stalkers get to the front, do their damage before they blink back. Now, because this is such a marauder heavy build, those marauders are going to hit those stalkers hard. So the blink needs to be crisp here, foe, if he wants to be able to break this Terran base. Now, we do have a command center going down in the natural, which actually should give his opponent some kind of hope, because if this command center wasn't being built, that's another 8 Marines that could be out on the field. But no Marines. It's going to be only 4 of them and 4 Marauders. They don't even see the pylon here. So
yeah,
that's unfortunate.
They're not able to see it. And that actually gives Irio vision of this happening. The stim is actually just about done. So once, yep, and now it's finished.
And
so
concussive shells is there too. Don't forget, which means that those stalkers, if they choose to engage, it's pretty much a death sentence, as those concussive cells will slow down the stalkers, and the stalkers will not be able to run away if they get hit by the marauders.
Yeah, it's not looking pretty for Irio, as he actually is going to start making his way over to engage, expanding behind this, so in the event that this attack doesn't go his way...
Oh, one stalker instantly gets obliterated here, foe.
This stim is really, really good, but a very, very nice time warp, which is going to help prevent these units from going much further, but the mothership core is going down.
Oh, and these stalkers are in a very precarious situation. One more stalker goes down. More stalkers go down. More stalkers go down. That is the tale that we are going to tell here. Now, the stim is doing quite a number to his own units, but keep in mind, Marine Marauder not nearly as expensive as these blink stalkers, and it will be completely shut down here.
Yep, and the big thing too is not even utilizing medevacs that we saw in the last game, because just the sheer number and I guess a kind of timing really with the stim and concussive has really done Terran well in getting himself ahead with his army. Now it's going to be up to him to really utilize and manipulate that advantage he's gotten.
Well, he is going to be taking advantage of it by way of upgrades here. Double Evos. He's not a Zerg player. Double Engineering Bay on the way here. We'll be able to get his 1-1 fairly quickly here. Okay, and he will start it up immediately, well-timed, using all of his gas for those upgrades. Now, if he manages to be up 1-1 against his opponent, especially with the forces he has, it's going to be really nice here, because these stalkers really can't engage this army, especially when it gets 1-1. We're going to be waiting for Colossus to come out here to try and level the playing field, but we're quite a ways away from that here, foe.
Yeah, so it really looks like Terran has a really strong footing right now, because he's been able to kind of blind counter his opponent, and that first engagement is very telling. So Irio needs to kind of, I guess, be careful where he steps and ensure that whatever he does, it's a way to get himself back up.
If he's going to utilize his stalkers, he needs to be really quick on the blink key. And this is one reason I don't like blink stalkers at this level. If you're going to engage properly, if you want to be the next MC, you want to be the next Puck, you've got to have that superior micro ability while also being able to maintain your macro back home. And when your APM is floating around, 17, you can't really do that. Well, our players don't have 17, it's more like 40, but when your APM is that low, you can't micro and macro at the same time, and more units is always better than micro.
Yeah, it's very difficult, and that's why they always a lot of people who've gotten to those higher levels just let you know, like, you can make pretty much anything as long as you just keep macroing and working on that. All of the other little nuances will come, and you just really have to start working on the things that are integral to your play, and macro is just the most important of the two.
All right, well, we do have this Marine force camping outside the natural expansion of the Protoss. Looks like it's going to be waiting for 1-1 before he moves in. Now, 5 more Marines on the way, and I'm not sure what he's doing. Maybe waiting for these medevacs that are making their way across the map. We'll be spotted by this observer here, but
Yep, trying to get the best out of these units. He's even trying to do scans in his own way to make sure maybe there's nothing sneaky going on and that he's got a good idea for where he's going about. He might actually do a two-pronged attack here, which would be interesting. Irio, on the other hand, is going to be able to see this, maybe even follow these medevacs for a bit.
Oh, does he see it? He stemmed for a second. I wonder if he saw it.
Yeah, he may actually see this observer. I do not know.
Yep, he sees it. Okay. Good call by our Terran player here.
Yep, so that observer was going to continuously give our Protoss the vision and kind of have a notion and an idea of when this attack has come, but now he's in the dark.
Yep, and we do have a third base on the way for our Terran player, so this is not by any means an all-in. Now, on the other side of the map, while this attack is going on, Irio has plans of his own and will be dropping his opponent. We're going to have to see how much damage that drop can do, as most of his attention is being focused on this attack, which has actually been pretty well dealt with, I feel.
Yeah, pretty well dealt with indeed. That Immortal did a good amount of damage before it expired. This Mothership Core will, it looks like, survive by the hair of its chin, and now it's going to be able to kind of be here to deal with these Marauders and kind of push them out.
Alright, well, we do have the Warp Prism between the natural and the third of our Terran player, and so far, as I pointed out, the Protoss' energy is being expended here at the front lines at the natural. So no warp-ins have occurred with that Warp Prism. And as this continues on, more and more units are being rallied to the Protoss base, and GG is called. Terran is going to take it, despite being unranked, despite being level 5. I think it's safe to assume he was at least a gold player.
Yeah, at the very least, he's had some experience. So sometimes, you know, ranking really doesn't tell you much, and players just have to kind of show you with their play.
You know, I wonder if maybe that wasn't a strategy for the school. Think about it. You say, okay, I want my opponent, because I want to win the awesome scholarship money, of course. I want my opponent to know the least about me as possible. Well, I'll just play with a new account then.
Yeah,
or I'll play on another server and then move over to this one when it's time to play my games. You know?
Yep. Yeah, so, it's entirely in the realm of possibility that that they could be utilizing every little bit of advantage that they can grab.
Oh, well, when you got money up for grabs, I can understand that. It's very similar to pro players, how they use their barcode accounts to ladder, and their official accounts only when they're at a tournament.
Very true.
All right, so Irio will take that game, and XNPI took the game previous. Or, I'm sorry, Terran took that game, dropping Irio down. So let's go ahead and recap really quick here for all of our viewers at home. We have Northview High School up 2-0 versus St. Francis Xavier. XNPI and Terran winning their matches against Kaiserjin and Irio, respectively. So we have some very good players here that have already been able to show off their skill. Now, this is going to be Kaiserjin versus Terran, and Kaiserjin's another gold player. And as we just saw Terran, we came to the conclusion that he's at least a gold player. So this should be, I think, another really up and down match. It's really a toss-up between these two. I'm excited to get in here. It will be a TBT, Fo.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, like you mentioned, the gold versus gold, kind of highlighting and reviewing both of their plays, I actually believe that this may be the most fair, balanced match yet. All right.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. And thank you guys for tuning in, by the way. This is the SCB Rush cast of the High School Star League. SCB Rush is your home for all things StarCraft. You can check us out at scbrush.challenge.com. Also, take a wonderful look at our sponsors. They're up on the overlay. We've got Newegg, Twitch, MSI, all the others. They've done so much to help us out here, giving us some great scholarship money to be able to give away to these high school players who are, quite frankly, playing their hearts out. Let's go ahead and introduce the boys, why don't we? Spawning in the right-hand corner of our map, representing Girin and his home high school, St. Francis Xavier, it is Kaiserjin.
And spawning in the bottom left corner in the red trunks is our Terran player, Terran. He's going to be representing Northview.
Now, it's really funny we mentioned that Terran is playing Terran, because I played quite a few people on the ladder named Zerg that play Protoss, and I played a Protoss that plays Terran. So it is actually, and this is actually a strategy, and I'm sure you know this, but for everyone at home, people will try to confuse you and then cheese you by having their name be the name of a race and then play a different race. So you go, oh, this is Terran. I can go 15 hatch first, no problem. And then there's a cannon rush in your base.
Yeah, pretty sneaky. A lot of people trying to min-max as much as they can to help give them an advantage. Now, interestingly enough, it does look like Terran's going to be sending his SCV out early and may even try to kind of go...
Oh, are you kidding me? No. Don't do it, Terran. No, don't do it. Okay, I thought he was about to proxy. I thought he was going to set up a proxy here in the natural because normally you don't go straight to the natural at 2 minutes because... you should know that there's not going to be an expansion at 2 minutes.
Yeah, typically you won't do that, and it looks like he might still utilize a proxy. We don't really know for sure, but he's definitely putting that SCV in a rather...
And as we can see in the chat, these guys are thinking the same thing.
Which would be super funny if he didn't happen to know where his opponent spawned, because
as a gold player, you'd expect him to know by now.
Well, that, and he also, there was some buildings being touched on. He actually got vision of 2 of them. So
where is he going?
I'm not entirely sure.
He has now effectively moved all the way across the map and has no idea where he's going. All right, well, we do have the second barracks on the way for Terran, and the third barracks, excuse me. So we're going to have a 3 barracks rush here, not going up to reactor, not going up to tech lab, just pure barracks, and he will start pumping out the Marines. Now, Foe, this is pure Marines. This can be very dangerous against a player that's going reactor because he's going to be a little bit behind initially. Now, there's a window of opportunity for Terran to do some damage here, but he's got to be quick about it.
It does look like Terran doesn't know where the spawns are, which is pretty funny. Right now, Kaiser is going to be able to get in here and kind of see what he's up against, see the 3 Marines, and back the heck out. But he might be a bit safer because Terran doesn't know where his opponent is, and that is very difficult.
Well, I thought that, didn't he see the buildings in the main? Or did he...
He did, but he had to ask, like, in the chat. So it's possible that he still...
I mean, if you take a look at his vision, he actually only saw... the only things he saw were the barracks being made and the gas being made. Like, he didn't see any completed buildings when he scouted with his SCV, which is kind of funny. So we're going to have this little Marine force moving across the map. 5 Marines will be moving across, and only a Reaper to defend. Now, 2 more Reapers on the way... Is this going to be mass Reapers?
It very well might be. And these Reapers can do a good amount of damage early, but with a critical number of Marines, they're going to kind of be in trouble.
All right, well, SCVs do get pulled here, and all the Reapers go down, and now these Marines can just go to town on these SCVs. Good little micro here by Terran. He will finally get surrounded, but not before taking out a few SCVs. And, wow, he's doing a phenomenal job with his control. Taking out, like 5 SCVs here. Not bad at all, and the Marine production has stopped for now as far as moving across the map, and everything will be centered at home.
But it does look like he effectively took out more SCVs because at the moment Kaisergan actually has about 4. Okay, now they're back to work, but there were some idle SCVs that weren't quite ready to do their job. A little bit traumatized by this push and what they had to do. They're not used to killing, so now they're back to work.
All right, well, we do have another orbital command coming in for Terran, and he continues to build Marines, which effectively do counter Mass Reaper, to be honest with you.
Yep.
What I would like to see is 1 tank here, Foe, and let me tell you what. If you send your Marines across the map, you can kill your opponent. However, if you send your Marines across the map and your opponent sends his Reapers across the map, you effectively kill each other. If he wants to secure his victory, he needs some kind of forces back home that can defend while he goes on the offensive.
For sure. What I would even like to see maybe is a planetary fortress at home and just send everything. Just send everything. Who needs tanks when I have a base that can blow holes in your army?
All right, well, this is very scary here. 10 Reapers to 15 SCVs. And what scares me here is that the Marines of Terran are not all together. And the Reapers of his opponent are in a bunker here.
Yeah, and they're going to be doing a really good job of taking care of these units, and that bunker is going to be the main thing. But I guess I've never really seen Reapers against Marines on like even footing in numbers. So it'll be interesting to say the least. With the kind of the luxury that Kaiser will have is regardless of the TPS this is going on, if he takes his engagements sparingly and does them little bits of time, these Reapers are going to regen. They're not going to need any medevacs to heal them.
Oh, my friend foe. We have a tech lab on a starport.
Ooh.
You know what that means?
Banshee play. And what's great about that too is these Reapers, as good as they're holding, they're not able to shoot up.
They are not able to shoot up. A single Banshee would spell trouble for Kaiserjin here. Look at the amount of Reapers on the field. 18 Reapers here, foe, versus the 16 Marines of Terran. I have never seen this many Reapers. Now, as a Zerg player,
this in high-level play, this is only entertainment that Golden Below can provide, and it is wonderful.
Actually, you say that. Who was it that I saw in a pro match who actually went Mass Reaper and won? QXC. Yes, thank you. QXC actually did this. He went Mass Reaper and won simply because he's QXC number one, and number two, everyone goes, oh, no one would go Mass Reaper. So he did it and won.
Wow, and so these Reapers are booking it now, not caring about the terrain, being very sneaky, and they're going to take this SCV by surprise.
No, why would you pull the SCVs? No! Oh, no. Okay, there go all the SCVs.
Oh,
and
so
I'm pretty sure that Terran is dead at this point. He just had no defense at all.
Oh, stemmed Marines coming in here to try to deal with these Reapers. As fast as they are, they're not very good against Marines, whose DPS is much higher. They're trapped and they have no way to run, so he's going to be able to clean these up, but at what cost with all these SCVs being lost?
Well, I'll tell you what. It's actually not too bad, considering he had 600 minerals in the bank. He can go ahead and start building that SCV count again. Now, the medevac, this medevac doesn't have anything in it. I'm quite uncertain of what's going on here. Drop in the natural will actually clean up the SCVs in the natural. A few Marines from Kaiserjin will come in and clean this up, but right now, taking a look at the count, it is going to be 17 workers to 16 workers. 30 supply in favor of Terran, so things have amazingly evened out, and this Banshee will continue to move across the map and do work.
Yeah, going completely uninhibited. Well, not completely. There is a missile turret now. But if it gets over to that second base, it looks like these Marines are saying nope, and they're not going to be dealing with any more harassment from this Banshee.
All right, well, Terran is sending out another medevac across the map, try and get some more damage done. I'm not sure that I agree with this, as those Marines of Kaiserjin will be able to shoot it out of the sky if they find it. What I do agree with, however, is this tank. Now, as we get into a normal TVT, you and I both know that the most important aspect of TVC is the tank count. TVT being that positional play, that game that is so commonly compared to chess of StarCraft. 3 tanks versus 0 tanks means that 3 tanks showing away at your Marines and your structures. Not a good day for you, my friend.
Yep, and behind that, too, what's really good about this is Terran is doing a good job of getting a lot of these SCVs, even saving his Marines, and kind of taking Kaiserjin's gaze off of the incoming push, which, by the way, looks deadly.
Yeah, he does not even need to go up the ramp. He can actually just scan, and that is what he will do. The added range will take this bunker out, and now, what does Kaiserjin have to defend? He continued making Reapers, and Reapers not exactly the best against tanks. Terran now is going to be sieging up this position, has 1 tank on the ramp, preventing his opponent from getting anywhere near the ramp. In fact, anything that comes out of the barracks and is rallied towards the ramp will instantly die.
I love this. You can tell Terran's thinking hard about this, about where he's putting his tanks. But these tanks should be up joining his army, but it doesn't even look like he's going to need them at this point. Doing a lot of damage, utilizing them more as a defense structure than anything, and keeping them kind of to keep these Marines safe. fistful of damage coming down on Kaisergan now and just losing a boatload of Marines.
All right, well, the SCVs will be pulled as the last defense for Kaisergen, but with these tanks sitting pretty in the main base, I don't think there's really anything Kaisergen can do to survive. He's gonna bring down the Mule Hammer before his main base dies. A good strategy there. And he's gonna build 6 barracks in his natural expansion, but someone needs to tell this guy there's no way those are gonna be ready by the time these tanks move up into the natural.
You gotta commend, if anything, Kaisergan's ability to look at a version and be like, I've got this, and he's ready to make even more bunkers and make the war, because he does have a lot of minerals, but I do not think that they're going to be spent anytime soon.
Nope, the rest of the Reapers will go down, the Marines do go down, Stim is utilized, and Kaisergen is going to have to GG out. And that will end game number 3. Now, we've got one the last game, and I hope it's a doozy. Terran has effectively won 2 games for his team here, foe. X-NPI has won 1. St. Francis Xavier is down 3-0. This is devastating.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal, and it doesn't look like the mutants are really pulling anything out of their hats for this one, and all that there is really left for them to be able to do is to come out of this with 1 victory. Right.
Yes. An opportunity in the High School Star League is to tie your opponent. It is 4 matches. So each team puts up 2 players, and then each player will play each other. So 4 games total. The opportunity for a tie has passed, but there is an opportunity for St. Francis Xavier to save their game count and not go down 0-4 here in this week's matchups. Now, I have to be honest with you, I'm not feeling too good for them, because looking at the next game here, it's our Diamond Zerg X-NPI versus the Gold Protoss Irio.
Oof.
Now, this is on Deadwing, and we're going to get right into it. Now, Deadwing, of course, against Protoss, in my opinion, is quite Zerg favored because you can expand everywhere. The 3rd base, relatively exposed. You've got a big ramp going up there. And the 4th base is almost equally as exposed and is difficult to hold until you break that rocks between the natural and the 3rd. So, I do think this is Zerg favorite, especially when you consider that it's a Diamond Zerg that we're playing against. And he's not going to be playing the turtle game, foe. Oh no, he's going to want to expand as much as possible. Let's play a little game. How many bases do you think he's going to have by the end of this match?
Well, I think there are only really 2 possibilities. He's either going to play with his food or he's going to win straight. If he plays with his food, we could see upwards of 5, maybe 6. If he wants to win straight, probably going to see 2 to 3. Probably 3.
All right.
Is my guess.
3 bases is your guess. I'm going to go with 6.
I'm guessing that NPI is a good guy, and that if he's gonna be a nice guy, he'll go for 3.
All right, well, let's hop into the match and find out once and for all the most important thing of the evening: how many bases will NPI take? It's good to know. It's good information. I like the portrait here of NPI. This is another weird thing that I guess, portraits are your own personal taste, but I'm a Zerg player, and I have the Overmind as my profile picture, but NPI here has chosen Protoss as his profile picture, so a little bit interesting there. Maybe he just likes the way it looks.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get right into it. Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Deadwing Ladder Edition, representing Random and Team Northview High School, it is our purple Diamond Zerg NPI.
And spawning in the top left corner, he has quite the mountain to climb. It's going to be our red Protoss player representing the Xavier. It's Irio.
And as you said, yeah, Irio really has a mountain to climb. He's really got to play out of his mind if he wants to win this. The skill gap between gold and diamond is quite extensive. Very hard for a gold player to beat a diamond. You know, I'm currently in platinum, was in diamond, and I can tell you now, I went 17-0 when I got put in gold league due to MMR decay. I didn't play for a season and got put into gold league and went 17-0 before I got back into platinum. So you have to assume someone as talented as NPI is not really expecting to lose here. The match is almost decided. I really don't want to count Irio out, though, because, you know, let's not crush dreams here, foe.
Yeah, well, I think what's making this not that we want to crush dreams or anything. If anything, we're building the dream even higher by giving Irio a chance to become a hero this day. He is deciding to go for a macro build. Now, it's possible that he might try to do some kind of cannon rush, cannon play. But generally, when you see this Forge out, you know that there's going to be a very quick expansion coming from the Protoss. So he's going to be relying on his macro, playing it straight. You know, going toe-to-toe and hoping to come out on top.
All right, well, the probe in the natural is having a bit of fun here with this drone. We'll put down a pylon, and it will be a pylon block, but that probe is too low to really do any kind of cannon rush.
Yeah,
so
it does look like NPI is just going to pretty much ignore that spot, take this base right over here, feel good about it, and then probably send some lings over to get rid of this pylon when he gets to it.
All right, well, the Nexus is down for Irio, our Protoss player here. One cannon being warped in before the gateway. Wants to be extra safe here, although, you know, I don't think his opponent would do any kind of rush. He did get a look at what his opponent was doing, so he should know that this is not any kind of rush. I would have liked the gateway first, as it would allow him to get his tech out a little bit quicker. Now you can see the cannon finish. The gateway's on the way. If he had swapped those two, the gateway would be done, and he could get his cybernetics core out. But, you know, just little intricacies with build order that you start to notice at the higher levels that you don't really think about in the Gold and Silver League.
Yep, as a Protoss player, like, personally, I tend to kind of forego this Forge Fast Expand. As comfortable as it is and as good of economic footing that it gets you on, your tech does come earlier, and the Zerg gets to feel comfortable. He's like, oh, I know what you have, what you're capable of for the next, you know, 2 to 3 minutes, and I'm going to feel pretty at ease knowing that there's not going to be any pressure aside from the cannon or pylon being placed in my natural.
Yeah, so he's just free to drone, and looking at the production tab here, that is oddly not what we're going to see here. I'm a little bit confused by what I see as a Zerg player myself. We have the 3 bases, but the gas has already been taken and speed is already on the way here. Now this is a variation of a build. Typically, if you're going up against a Zerg a Protoss that Forge Fast expands as a Zerg player, you take your gases around 530 to 6. You take both of them in your main or natural expansion. And the reason being is exactly as you said. There's not going to be any pressure coming. You don't need speed that quickly. And anything you put on gas does delay your drone production, because 3 drones on gas means 120 minerals less per minute for you. And that's almost 3 drones right there.
Yeah, my guess would be that NPI is utilizing or kind of just foregoing something more standard and just going to see if he can end this relatively quickly by getting more lings out than normal and seeing if a flood will work. And, you know, it's not like he's going to risk too much to do that.
You know, I would like to mention one thing I have noticed that I'm very afraid for Irio, is there's no mothership core.
Oof, no mothership core. He kind of forewent that. Has a Stargate coming out, and this Overlord is actually en route, may actually see the Stargate. It doesn't look like it's rallied to a location where it will be able to see it.
No, we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. Yeah, NPI, no more the wiser, does not see the Stargate yet, but if he does see it, you can bet that he'll be very well prepared for it. He'll just throw down a few spores. Now, we do have the layer coming in, and another interesting choice by NPI, a mistake. I will call it a mistake, because you don't see this with diamond players. He has a gas in his main that has not been taken. Okay, he now takes the gas, realizing, wait a minute, this gas is empty. That will slow down his tech just a little bit, but it wasn't empty for too long, so should be okay. Oracle's going to come over and do some damage, Bo.
Yeah, and you know, this pressure is not as great against Zerg because they do have a queen to kind of go over there. I mean, I do think there's going to be some guaranteed kills either way you slice it. One of them happens to go down. Now we're seeing a second drone go down. Maybe 3. Nope, just going to see 2 drones go down, and now, you know, not only does XNPI know what he's up against, but this kind of puts Irio in a place where he has to determine if he's going to put more units into that Stargate.
Well, and this is an interesting thing to note, kind of getting into the mindset of Zerg. Zerg says, okay, I know you've got a Stargate. Do I go Spire? Because Mutas is so powerful against Protoss unless they have Phoenixes.
Yep.
Do you want to bet that the player doesn't go Phoenixes and doesn't utilize that Stargate and try and put some pressure of your own on? Or do you go into Roach Hydra and say, I'm going to forego the Mutas and go Roach Hydra because you've gotten the Stargate, which means your Robo is going to be late?
Oh man, if it were me, and it's not me, luckily for Irio here, but I would just throw a bunch of lings at him. I'd be like, this is a gold player. There's no way that he can micro comfortably a Stargate composition. I would very much not play a safe game, and I would throw a lot of lings in there, see what kind of damage I could do, and then you know, kind of react as needed.
All right, well, the Oracle of Irio gets a little bit of work done, does take out a creep tumor, will sacrifice a lot of HP for it, though, surviving with only 6. Now, the one thing Irio does have going for him is he's going to be a very scary 3-base Protoss here, and he is getting +2 ground weapons, and Blink is just about to finish here. The opportunity for a Blink timing attack is very possible, considering that NPI has a minimal amount of units, only 11 roaches out on the field.
I'm actually very, very surprised that this 3rd base is going completely uninhibited for Irio right now. It's actually maybe even doubting just how much we think that this game is one-sided. The blink is now done for these Stalkers. A proxy pylon on its way, and I'm gonna guess that these you know, pylons gonna be used to warp in more Stalkers and just try to do a lot of pressure.
Yeah, the Oracle will definitely be able to add in a lot of DPS, but it should be shut down by the 4 queens that NPI has camped outside of his 3rd base. 4 queens can add a lot of DPS. We also have 3 transfuses on these queens, so these bad boys are not going down anytime soon. You know, NPI being a diamond player, you can assume that he's at that level where he knows how to use the transfuse properly by now. So that's going to add a lot of DPS and a lot of tanking ability for this Roach composition here.
Yeah, it does look, you know, typically Roaches are not as good DPS as the Stalkers are. However, they are very cost efficient, and in good amounts of numbers, it starts to go their way. But it looks like Irio's going to start pushing up. It starts to utilize his blink, which is very, very nice. Hopefully going to be starting to do some damage, utilizing his force fields in a very nice, catching some of these Roaches off guard. And now his proxy pylon's going to give him even more Stalkers to use in this army.
Well, we do see that transfuse coming into play, healing up some of those roaches, and now the Hydras are out, and the time for this attack to hit is now. If more Hydras come out, with the roaches able to tank, and the Hydras able to hit over force fields, this is going to be a very #dicey situation for our Protoss player.
Yep, Irio going in, poking and losing a good number of Stalkers that could have been utilized to blink, trying to use his force fields in a really, really good manner, trying to do some of the pressure on these queens, you know, picking off units here and there, but really the supply is staying very much the same, which is not what Irio's going to want.
NPI being so smart about this, he says, you're going to pressure my 3rd, I'm going to defend with Roach Hydra, and look at these lings at the potential 4th base here. As soon as Irio starts to move up this ramp, they're going to go into play. Well, I say that.
Ling's getting around, which is a really good. They're trying to hug the Stalkers, taking some of that DPS away, actually, which is going to be very, very good for NPI. He's going to start doing some damage here, but the supply, again, is remaining very much the same, and if Irio does not do something here to really break this wall, blinking in very aggressively, trying to do a lot of damage, getting really far in on his opponent now, trying to do as much as he can. He's going to do a lot of pressure on this 3rd, and it looks like the 3rd's going to go down.
Yeah, I am very impressed here with Irio's play. You know, like you said, we were hyping him up. He may be the hero that his school needs here. Doing a lot of damage against the diamond player of NPI here. He's going to back off. I don't think he should back off. He should keep going. He does not want to let the Zerg get more Roach Hydra out, especially considering all of his force fields are gone. It is pure
Stalker, and he's getting even more of them, and it's really laying down the pressure right now as he's trying to get rid of these creep tumors. He's using his Oracle as a detector, which is really nice, and now he's kind of going for the throat. These spines are here, and now it looks like we're gonna have yet another engagement.
Yep, 124 supply to 156. Now I will mention that the macro of our Diamond player is way better, and if these Evo chambers are not sniped, we could have 2-2 actually finish.
It looks like they are going to finish.
Oh,
so Irio's gonna have
and
to
they are done, and now these forces are so much stronger than that of the Protoss. But as we said earlier in the cast, sometimes pure numbers are better than better units.
Yeah, and it actually does look like Protoss ground weapons are about to hit 3 for our Protoss right now. So he's really committing all into this right now, and the supply is really on his favor. If he wants to do more, he's gonna need to utilize his army right now, and I think that's exactly what he's gonna try to do. These roaches are burrowed right now, and if this Oracle utilizes its ability, then we're gonna see a lot of these get fried.
Oh, look at NPI, so smart here. He's gonna move out and try and lure the Stalkers in, and then jump on top of them. Now, roaches actually have an advantage when they are in close range against Stalkers. Alright, now moving the roaches out, we'll be able to pick off a few of these Stalkers. Oh, so smart! Coming in from the high ground as well. Utilizing that high ground vision, the Stalkers cannot hit the roaches up top, but the roach army of NPI gonna get shooed away.
Behind this too, Irio's getting his next base, and you know he's still committed very much to the Stalkers, but he has now put out a Robo and is actually getting his first Colossus, so it's going to be on its way, and he's just going to continue to pressure now. Now getting an Observer, which is going to be very nice, noticing that XNPI actually has a burrowed unit, so now he can kind of expect that's going to be happening.
You know, I have to question what went wrong for our Zerg player here. You know, with the higher APM, with the better game knowledge, you would expect him to not fall for a blink all in. However, I think personally, it's just a matter of the fact that he did not scout his opponent. Maybe a little bit overconfident and was like, it doesn't matter what you bring to the table, I'm still going to crush you. But that's not the case here. And Irio has a very superior force here, 140 supply to 190. And the first Colossus is moving out towards the natural expansion here. This is not going well for NPI, and I think we're going to see GG pretty soon here. There's just not a whole lot that he can do.
Yeah, a lot of these force fields are actually kind of just preventing Irio at this point from really clinching this game. The first Colossus is kind of going to be a death sentence for XNPI because, you know, he may be looking at it and being like, oh, you know, I see that you keep making these Stalkers, like I might actually be able to come on top if my Hydra count is good. But now that this Colossus is out, doubts may start to come.
Oh, a little bit of a misrally there as 2 Stalkers will move their way into the natural. Okay, NPI sees the Colossus finally and decides to back up all the way to his main ramp. Now, we do have a Nidus network here, and he's going to load up and try and counter-attack.
It does look like we may have a base trade going on because at this point, XNPI might even be sending his drones in. It does look like he's sending his drones, so he really wants to send his all, and he wants to try to go for a base trade against Irio.
Alright, well this is about as good as it gets for XNPI. There is no Mothership Core, which means that there is no Time Warp, there is no Recall, and there is no Photon Overcharge here, which means that all the bases of the Protoss players should go down here, no problem. The difficult part here is how is he going to handle the Colossus? There is nothing that he can do about the Colossus. Take his opponent's base. He's going to take his opponent's base with those drones.
Yeah, it's actually really crazy because there is a Nidus Worm at the end. So eventually, if Irio wants to finish this game, he still has to go home.
Yeah, Nidus Network does count as a structure. He will need to kill that for him to finish out this game. The question is in an open engagement with 135 supply to 190, XNPI stands a chance if he's able to snipe the Colossus, but it's going to be a very difficult, micro-intense battle for him to be able to do that.
XNPI actually taking a base. So when he brought all of his drones, he's like, you know what? I don't like this fight. I don't like where I am. I'm going to take your base, and we'll just switch sides because I know you can't clean out that creep as soon as you need to. And now Irio's gonna try to deal with all of that at home. Now he actually still has 2 bases to deal with. He's actually got an army that he's warped in at I guess what would now be his 2nd, but what used to be his 4th. And now it looks like he's gonna try to take this Zerg army head on. He's actually might even funnel himself if he doesn't take this engagement correctly. It could be trouble.
Yeah, I was gonna say this Sim City he's got going in here does not favor him at all. The concave from Zerg will be good, yet his own concave is going to be practically non-existent. Now, we do have the engagement coming up. The Colossus are moving forward, able to snipe off a few roaches, a good start to this engagement here, but NPI is not dead just yet. He has some hope left of remaining in this game. Now,
he's got a little island of hope.
Irio here is going to take out his own gateways to make room for his own units to maneuver. The Guardian Shield is up, and this is going to be the last engagement. Some good micro coming out from XNPI.
Ooh,
good force fields here, cutting the army in half. And the Colossus are just wrecking everything. A single Immortal is also in the mix here. And the supply tells the tale. GG is called. NPI goes down. And now we have Northview High School winning the series 3-1.
Yeah, that's actually very, very surprising. A good surprise. I love that Irio was able to pull that out and actually come out and kind of represent for his team and be like, you know, we can win. We can win.
Yes, even in the face of danger, against a diamond player of XNPI's caliber, he was able to win. And I wonder if a lot of that didn't go to him being able to observe XNPI's first game and saying, all right, I know how this guy plays. I know what he wants to do. Let me go ahead and come up with some kind of strategy that will let me beat him. Because if you look at Irio's game plan, it wasn't a pure macro plan. It was very much an all-in that kind of turned into a long game plan just because he was able to pressure that third base. And when you do damage with an all-in, it no longer becomes an all-in. It becomes well, I don't have to kill you right now because I've already done enough damage to make the amount of units that I've made worth it.
Exactly. That initial investment was enough to just keep pumping units and constantly keep himself in a really, really good spot to just kind of feel no pressure, because our Zerg player needed to keep his units at home to try to defend against this, and he just couldn't wiggle his way out. And the only kind of act of desperation that he finally could kind of figure out and get himself out is like, I gotta night us out. Like, I have to leave here, because if I can't move, then this game is over.
You know, I think that really where NPI went wrong, there's 2 things he could have done. One, again, not quite favoring that early Zergling speed, because the Zergling speed wasn't utilized at all during that game. He went straight into Roach Hydra. That's 100 gas he could have used to pump out more Hydras, pump out more Roaches, get the Roach Warren earlier. He could have gone straight up to Lair and had the Hydras out earlier for more DPS.
Yeah.
So I think the game plan was a little bit flawed there from XNPI. I think that's the first mistake that he made. And then the second mistake is when he was being pressured at that third, he had drones that he could have made into spine crawlers. 4 spine crawlers would have changed that engagement entirely. And if you crush the initial blink stalkers, or you at least whittle them down, you know, even if they keep warping him in, it's not that massive ball where he can keep blinking backwards and saving the stalkers. You need that big stalker ball to be able to do that. Otherwise, the stalker remains in range. So those are 2 things I think he could have changed up to maybe change the situation that he was in. But it's all in the past now. And, Xavier is actually going to be down 3-1. Northview going to be moving on to next week. And we're going to have to see how they do next week, as we will have some games from them hopefully next Sunday as well. Now, that is going to be it from us at SCV Rush. Fo, do you have anything to say to our wonderful viewers?
Just thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us. Again, if you're interested and you like the cast that you're hearing, or you just want more StarCraft action, you can just Google us, SCV Rush. Otherwise, our channel is SCV Rush 1 at the end of that Twitch.tv. And it was a very enjoyable, and I was glad to cast it.
Absolutely. We do love casting the High School Star League. Again, the High School Star League handing out wonderful scholarship opportunities to these fantastic high school players. $5,000 on the line for the winner of this season's High School Star League. Do check it out. Google High School Star League, or you can go to highschoolstarleague.com. Check it out. Want to give out shout out to our wonderful sponsors, Twitch, Newegg, MSI, all the others they have on our overlay. I won't bother you with that. You know who they are. Show them some love. That's it for us here at SCB Rush and the High School Star League. Tune in next week, same time, 12 to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Saturday and Sunday to see next week's matches. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and have a great day.